All the cameras shouldn't let me go. Well, by way of introduction, one Christian scientist likes to ask evolutionists this question. Were you there? Isn't it good that God has given his own eyewitness account of the creation? He alone can answer yes, I was there. All right. Looking at Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty, darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. He called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning, the first day. And God said, "Let there be an expanse between the waters to separate water from water." So God made the expanse and separated the water under the expanse from the water above it. And it was so. God called the expanse sky. And there was evening and there was morning, the second day. And God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear." And it was so. God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to its various kinds." And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, the third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark seasons and days and years, and let them be lights in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made two great lights, the greater light to govern the day and the lesser night to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, the fourth day. And God said, "Let the water teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the sky." So God created the great creatures of the sea, and every living and moving thing with which the water teems, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and increase in number, and fill the waters in the sea, and let the birds increase on the earth." And there was evening and there was morning, the fifth day. And God said, "Let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, livestock, creatures that move along the ground, and wild animals, each according to its kind." And it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, in our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over all the earth, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. All right. Let me walk my way. First question, compare God the Creator to a building contractor. What would be different? What would be the same?
Building contractor, he's got to have something laid out for him first.
Got to have plans?
Yeah.
I've known contractors that just kind of show up and, okay, we're going to put a wall here,
Yeah.
and they do it all in their mind. Did God have blueprints? No. Well, yeah.
He knew what he was doing. Also, one thing that's different is a contractor, in order to build something, needs something. God created all of this out of nothing.
Yeah, contractor, when he builds a building, he has wood, cement, nails. God started with nothing.
He has help too.
You know, you look at it, it's creative genius when you get down to it, isn't it? When you look at everything that God has created, it's amazing. We'll talk more as we go on. Okay, in a couple of words or less, what did God create on each day of creation? What did he do on the first day? Let's test your memory here.
Sky. Sky.
Sky is actually day 2.
No, that's
No,
light,
he
light.
created a world, but it didn't have no form.
He created something that didn't have form. And then he created light. Second day was the sky. With the sky, we could include outer space up there as well. How about third day? Land, sea, vegetation.
Separated
Dry
it,
ground.
made it.
Sure,
Dry
separated it?
ground and the plants. Dry ground and the plants.
Sure. How about fourth day? Sun, moon, and stars is the simplest way to put it.
Yeah.
Everything that you see, light-giving body. How about day 5?
Fish and fowl.
Okay? Birds?
Birds.
Okay.
Fish of the sea.
I guess I would just say sea creatures.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at how many different kinds of
Fish there are.
animals live in the water. It's amazing. Day 6. Animals
Animals and man.
and man, the crown of his creation. All right, number 3. Compare day 1 with day 4. What do you find strange about God's creation of light?
He had the sky, but he didn't have the sun and moon and the stars. still.
There's all this light, right?
There's still
What
light.
I find strange, it was morning and evening, and there was no sun and
Nope. Does God need a sun to have light?
No.
He is the light.
He is the light. And you look at, it's interesting, you read through Revelation, and it says, sun's not needed there anymore. Why? Christ is there with his glory. That's the light we need. All right, number 4. Some Christians claim that Scripture's account of creation teaches evolution, using a simple story for primitive people. How is it clear from the order in which God created things that, first of all, a day cannot mean millions of years, and that Moses rejected any form of evolution? I've heard this one many times. Yes, God created the world in 6 days, but each day is 1,000 years or a million years. How do you know that's not true?
There's the evening and the morning.
Okay, first of all, there's evening and there's morning. And then later on, what does he say about the sun, moon, and stars? Why did he create them?
So that these days would be separated.
To mark seasons
Seasons.
Days.
Years.
Days and years.
and years. The word that's used for day there, the same word you got earlier, where it says day 1, day 2, day 3, and so on. Moses was smart. How do we know Moses was smart?
What meaning smart?
Obviously, I mean, to lead the people that he did, but he was smart, godly smart. He was also worldly smart too, very worldly smart. How do we know that? He was raised in Egypt, in the king's palace. He had the best of everything. And you read through all the writings of Moses, there is not a hint of evolution. Number 5, the Holy Spirit caused Moses to end the account of each day with the words, and there was evening and there was morning. How does this anticipate and contradict theistic evolution? What's it tell you? I think Tom mentioned it before. You got evening and morning. How long is that?
24
About 24 hours, except last night. Last night was 25. But that's basically it. You got a light period, a dark period, roughly 24 hours. That's one day. I didn't mention before, what is the theistic evolutionist? Anyone know?
What's the word?
Theistic evolution. I mentioned it in the, here.
Oh, that God's, isn't it that God started it?
God got the ball rolling.
And then it evolved from there.
That's kind of where Roman Catholics fall. Some of them will teach that God got the ball rolling. And so, yes, he created it, but then evolution kind of went on.
He only needed his word.
There, I will tell you this, there are so many holes in evolution that it's ridiculous. It's like one professor told me once, a scientist actually, he said it takes more faith to believe in evolution than it does to believe in God creating the world. There's a lot more to believe. All right, number 6. The Hebrew word translated by the NIV as sky literally means an expanse or a vault of the heaven. Where did God put the water in relation to this space?
Both in the heavens and in the earth.
Yeah.
Right. It's not limited to just down below, is it?
No.
That's to create rain comes from
That's
above.
where the rain comes from. There are some who teach that up until about the flood, the earth was kind of like in a greenhouse. Where, I mean, does the greenhouse have water? There's a lot of humidity, right? But it doesn't rain in there, and yet everything grows real well. And they look at the flood and they say that's why people were so surprised when it started raining. I'm not so sure about that.
Well, it rained before that, but it didn't rain continuously for 40 days.
And you didn't have water coming out of the rocks and everything else. All right, we'll get to the flood in a couple of weeks. Number 7. What is God's evaluation of his creative work at the end of each day, and how does that affect our views of the world? What did he say about it?
It is good.
Of course, when God says it's good, what does that mean? It's perfect. It's perfect, isn't it? You know, God made everything and it is good. And unfortunately, sin has changed all that, hasn't it? Number 8, some say the calendar is an invention of science or a product of social evolution. Can you offer a better explanation from God's account of creation?
Yeah, because he said that when he had the sun and moon and such, it was to mark the days and the years.
Mark seasons, days, and years. And yeah, God actually put a calendar up there. And it goes by clockwork. There are certain constellations. I go for a walk every night. And I love it when it's a new moon and there's no clouds. I see billions of stars up there. And there are certain ones, they get tough to find. There are certain constellations I look for. Depends on the time of the year though.
They're in different spots.
They're
They're in
different
different
spots.
spots.
Because
But it's clockwork.
I wondered why God made them not even days, because every 4th year we get an extra day.
It has to be that.
Is it a problem with the calendar,
No.
or is it a problem with creation?
no.
Ain't a problem with
Not a
that.
problem with creation.
No.
No.
Roger Wick is only so old.
We do the best we can with the calendar. Of course, even the guys who did the calendar screwed up too. Why some months have, why aren't they all even?
Yeah.
It's like getting into this daylight saving
Yeah.
argument.
These astrologers that were out, they had studied all these stars. They knew how they acted from day to day.
Sure. You want to know what time it is, what do? What's the simplest way?
During the day.
Where's the
check
sun?
Right.
If it's right up there, it's probably around lunchtime. And if you can't see it, it's either early morning or late night. But then you can look at the stars and you can determine if it's morning or night. All right, describe how the variety of plants, birds, animals, fish that God made strengthens our certainty of God's love. First of all, remember everything God created was for the crown of his creation, which is mankind. Everything was created for us. And you look out at what we have, look at the plants. There's a variety to eat. There's a variety that are just for show, aren't they? Same thing with animals. You look out at the vast animals that God created. Some are for meat, some are for helping us, and some make us laugh. You look at,
Some are dangerous.
yeah, but were they prior to the fall into sin?
No.
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 The lion slept with the lamb.
You know, you look at things like that. Does God have a sense of humor? Look at a duck. Watch a duck walk.
Try a loon.
A loon.
Loon on land.
There's a lot of animals like that. All right. Number 10, where would the dinosaurs fit into God's week of creative activity? People will say Christians don't believe there were dinosaurs. Obviously there were. They're finding all these bones.
The skeletons are still there.
It'd be land animals.
But when would they have been created?
6 days.
Day 6, right?
Yeah.
Unless they happen to be the ones
Unless
in
the
the ocean.
flying one.
They could have been in.
That's when he created the sea creatures. So you can't say that there were not dinosaurs, so we still have dinosaurs today. Probably the closest are
Komodo
crocodile.
dragon.
crocodiles,
What about the Komodo dragon?
Komodo dragon.
I think it's.
I mean, we still have things like Loch Ness Monster, right?
You say so.
Okay, number 11. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? On the basis of Genesis, how would you answer it?
Chicken.
Oh,
Chicken came first.
Well, if you really take God's word literally here, chicken would have to come first, right?
He made
Because he told the animals, produce, reproduce.
Yeah, how do you get an egg unless you have a chicken?
And did he, I mean, look at Adam and Eve. Were they created as babies?
No.
No, I don't.
No. They created to look like adults. How do we know he didn't do that with all the other animals as well? I think I told you about a Sunday school teacher years ago that hit me with a question I never thought of. One of the first graders said, did Adam and Eve have a belly button? I had never given it a thought, to be honest. What would you say?
Probably not.
I know what my answer was.
They didn't eat them.
I told them they probably did not, because where do you get the belly button from? You get it from your mom.
That's the biblical cord that keeps you alive
Yeah.
until you're born.
Could God have created them with a belly button? Sure. We don't know. All right. Number 12. Examine the creation of animals on day 6. Give a possible explanation of why quarter horses, but not zebras, are used for saddle riding.
That's what God intended them to be.
What, is there anything that might give you a clue in here?
Well, what
He
about?
created some to be tame
Yeah,
And some
and
to
some
be
to be
wild.
and some to be wild. So that's quite, there are some horses you can't get on anyway. I've been on some horses that you're lucky if you stay on 30 seconds. Okay, well, let's look at the next section here. God creates human beings. Then God said, let us make man in our image, in our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over all the earth, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and over every living creature that moves on the ground. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food, and to all the beasts of the earth and all the birds of the air and all the creatures that move on the ground, everything that has a breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And it was so. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. There was evening, there was morning, the sixth day. So, number one, describe the special way God created man and woman and the special gifts he gave them. Now, we did not look at the account here.
But he made
He formed them from the dust of the ground, took Adam's rib, and made Eve. But there's one thing that sets them apart from all the other animals.
They all have a soul.
They have a soul. They were made
In God's image.
in God's image. That does not mean that we look like God. God is a spirit. The image of God is, well, I don't want to jump ahead here. That's the next one here. He made us as sexual beings. He made us to rule over all things in creation. And we dropped the ball in a lot of that.
Yeah.
You can't build your house because there's this little ant on the property. Who's ruling who? The ant?
No, another man.
All right, well, Colossians 3, 5 to 10 talks about the image of God. It says, put to death, therefore, whatever belongs to your earthly nature, sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, and greed, which is idolatry. Because of these, the wrath of God is coming. You used to walk in these ways in the life you once lived. But now you must rid yourselves of all such things as these: anger, rage, malice, slander, filthy language from your lips. Do not lie to each other, since you have taken off your old self with its practices, and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in the knowledge of the Creator, the image of its Creator. So, what's the image of God? Perfection.
He's holy.
You could say spiritual likeness, right? Not physical likeness, spiritual likeness. The knowledge, the holiness, the righteousness. Unfortunately, that image was lost when man fell into sin. Well, number 3, why should Christians want to take care of this world?
Because
That's
God told
what
us.
God put us in here to do.
Okay, told you to do it. Any other reason?
Well, it's a gift from God,
We live here.
so we're supposed to be good
We live,
caretakers.
actually, you could say we're
Caretakers.
tenants. We don't own the earth. Who does?
God.
So we want to take care of his property, don't we? We want to be good stewards. So when it comes down to recycling and things like that, out of love for Christ, yes, we will do it. I'm not doing it for my great-grandchildren, which is what they put. You want your children to grow up in this filthy world? I mean, isn't that the litter, don't litter thing back in the 70s? Well, no, I don't want my kids living in litter, but I don't do it for them, I do it for God. All right, number 4, contrast the way the Bible answers the following questions with the way the world answers them. From where did humans come? God. What does he say?
Evolution. Oh, God.
Oh, don't turn me around here. I was going to say we'd have to have some kind of
Doctor
talk.
said we was gonna go by the world.
Okay, we'll take the world first. They say evolution, right?
Yeah.
What does God say? I created it.
I created.
How about mankind's purpose? What does the world say your purpose is?
To be happy, true to yourself.
Look for yourself, right? Eat, drink, and be merry for yourself, to your own glory. What's God's? We do it for His glory.
Glory, His glory.
What's our motivation to care for the world? The world says your kids, your grandkids, yourself. God says do it to serve me. How does the present world compare with the world in former time? Oh, we get people who dream back to, oh, it was better when I was a kid and everything else. It's funny, I look back, I remember being in San Francisco, and when they came up with the new word smog. What's smog?
Smoke.
You don't hear that too much today.
And smoke and fog. And
Yeah,
Air pollution.
air-
air pollution. If you, I mean, you'd go out in the morning and you couldn't breathe. You can now. We've cleaned things up a little bit. I mean, what cars, emissions on cars is so much different.
We send it overseas.
Don't go to China.
Nasty.
You have to wear a mask all the time. Because they don't have any of the standards we have.
Nathan, our son has been there 3 times and he says you pray for rain because when it rains, it, it's not.
Settles it a little bit. And
He said the day they went over there, the first day, the wind was blowing good and you could see the sun. And then he said then the wind didn't blow and you couldn't hardly see no sun. It was that bad where he was.
So again, but let's go back even farther. Our good old days were really not always as good as we remember, I think. We've got conveniences now that we couldn't even dream of years ago. Go back to the Garden of Eden, what was it like? And it is so hard for us to imagine what perfection is like, because we don't know anything perfect. Well, what is mankind? According to the world, you're another animal.
We're just another cog in the wheel.
Yeah. How about according to God?
The crown of his
You're the
creation.
crown of his creation. All right. Well, number 5, when did God create angels? You look at the 2 passages, all it says, 6 days God made the heaven and the earth, everything in it. And pretty much the same thing in Colossians. Can you pin it down?
When he wanted to.
Somewhere during the 6 days of creation, he created angels. Leave it at that. Well, last part, Genesis 2, 1-3. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. By the 7th day God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the 7th day he rested from all his work. And he blessed the 7th day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating he had done. Number 1, since God is omnipotent, what does it mean that he rested from his work?
He just didn't do any more actual creating.
Right.
He still rules.
He had created everything that was necessary for Adam and Eve. He did not sit back, kick his feet up on the ottoman, and take a nap. God does not get tired in that sense. If you want to say he sat back, what he did is he marveled at his creation. I mean, what did he say about it? This is very good.
He still had to be holding the entire thing together.
Oh, yes.
Yep. Well, Hebrews 1-11 kind of explains eternal rest. It says, therefore, since the promise of entering his rest still stands, let's be careful that none of you be found to have fallen short of it. For we also have had the gospel preached to us just as they did, but the message they heard was of no value to them, because those who heard it did not combine it with faith. Now we who have believed entered that rest, just as God has said, so I declare in my anger they will never enter my rest. And yet his work has been finished since the creation of the world. For somewhere he has spoken about the 7th day in these words, and on the 7th day God rested from all his work. And again, in the passage above he says, they shall never enter my rest. It still stands that some will enter that rest. And those who formerly had the gospel preached to them did not go in because of their disobedience. Therefore God again set a certain day, calling it today, when a long time later he spoke through David, as was said before, today if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. For if Joshua had given them rest, God would not have spoken later about another day. There remains then a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For anyone who enters God's rest also rests from his own, just as God did from his. Let us therefore make every effort to enter that rest, so that no one will fall by following their example of disobedience. So, how is the seventh day of creation like our eternal rest? Everything's completed, isn't it?
Yeah.
As God completed his work of creation, so he has completed the work of our salvation. And he invites us to find rest in him. And of course, Jesus explains what that rest is, isn't he? Come to me for rest. Who's the rest for? Those who are weary and burdened. And not because I was tired the other day. Jesus says a rest for your souls. What's rest for your souls? What gives your souls rest?
His word.
His word.
Sure, the gospel. You have sins forgiven. Doesn't that give you rest to your soul? All right, do you got any questions? I know we kind of went through some of the passages a little bit there. Didn't want to keep you all day. Well, let's do it. Well, in the summary there, the Bible shows how carefully and lovingly God made his world, and then crowned his work with the special creation of man and woman. David says it beautifully, I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. And we could do a whole Bible class on David's work, which we aren't today, but you look at the human body and how wonderfully and beautifully we are made. We're all different.
When God made man, he formed it by
Mhm.
hand. And you think of a human form, but think about all the intricacies that he had to make.
The example I usually give is, how many of you ever put your hand on a hot stove?
You don't leave it there.
What happened? This is the hot stove, and I put my hand in it. What happened? I mean, you go, whoa!
Yeah.
I mean, you go like that, right? Have you ever stopped to think what it took to do that? You have sensors in your fingers. You put your hand on there, those little sensors send a message to your brain saying, something's not right here. And your brain figures it all out and says, it's hot. Move. So it sends an impulse down to your hand and your arm to move. And it also sends a little impulse to your vocal cords which say, ouch. And now, of course, even though you touch it for just a split second, you have other things, all of a sudden you got blisters. How long did that whole process take?
Pretty much a split
Less than
second.
seconds.
And God made every little nerve, every little vein.
By hand.
Yeah. It's one of, I mean, with the other animals, he said, let there be a giraffe. Boom! There's a giraffe. Of course, look at how intricate they are. I mean, you look at a giraffe. How many bones are in their neck? Anyone know?
One per inch.
Exact same number that are in yours. Is it 7? They have 7 bones. They have just as many as you do. God made all that. Just by speaking. But then he got the man. You played with dirt before, haven't you? You see the sand castles I made. Well, I'm glad God did not leave creating man to me. You would not look the way you do, trust me. But he did all of this. And as he's forming, he says, I'm going to put a heart here. I'm going to put a kidney here, and a kidney there. I'm going to put a thyroid here. I'm going to put all these other little things in here. I'm going to make your kneecap a little bit different. I'm going to make your elbow and your shoulder really unique. And granted, I can't be an owl and turn my head as far as they do. But, you know, you look at the way things are. Our eyes are amazing. You see an image. What happens to it when it hits your eyes?
goes to the brain then.
What happens to it between there and the brain? Flips it upside down. And then you've got, anyone here colorblind? Anybody? Oh, okay.
I've heard of it.
Joel's wearing green, right?
I was giving my brother a hard time in that too. Thankfully, he got married, because when he used to dress himself, he was a teacher, and let's just say after he got married, he was wearing his usual stuff to the office, and his wife says, "You aren't going out in that, are you?" "What's wrong with it?" "Nothing matched." It clashed. But, you know, you look at the way we do things, and the way our brains function, the way our bodies heal. God, it's kind of like he sat down at the workbench and said, "I'm going to make these people." We are fearfully and wonderfully made. It's amazing. All right, any other questions? Well, if not, you have a good day now. I think the camera didn't run out on this one. It must have stayed under 45 minutes. Didn't mean, the next ones won't be quite this long.